now got a place to print out all the open requests that are tied to a very specific campaign. And remember, the campaign that they are tied to will have its address inside the URL. Let's go take a look at our mockup again, just to get a sense of what this page is supposed to look like. All right, so of course we want to have our header at the very top. We then want to have a table that lists out all the different requests that have been created for this campaign. And of course, we want to have a button that a user can use to go over to a form to make a new request as well. Now we could certainly start working on this table right now, but we don't have any requests tied to our current campaign. So I think that step number 1 is going to be to add in this add request button, go make the form to add a request, and then once we can actually make a request, then we can come back over and create this table. Of course, we could go use Remix to make a request manually, but hey, I think that maybe it'd be best if we try to use our own form to modify these requests. Then we could very easily have an idea of whether or not the form is behaving the way we expect. So let's get started by placing our layout component inside of this request index page that will get our header to show up. And then we'll also add in the button to link a user over to a form to create a new request. All right, so I'm going to flip back over to my code editor where I've still got my request index component open. At the top, we're going to add in an import statement to get our layout.js component. So we'll add import layout from, and now here's where things are going to get a little bit nasty. Notice how we are now 3 directories nested. So we have to go up 3 directories and then go into components. So that would be .. / 2, 3, and then components layout, like so. Now, I don't know about you, but these relative file references have been getting really annoying throughout this entire application that we've been working on, right? Having to like spell out all these dots really doesn't seem like a good use of time. Later on, after we finish the bulk of this application, I'm going to show you how you can kind of tweak our Webpack configuration just a little bit to avoid having to specify all these extra dots right here. But that's something that's really not closely related to Ethereum at all. So I didn't do that right away at the very start in case you are wanting to focus on the Ethereum side. But we will come back at the end and take a look at how we can address this relative route stuff. All right, so that will give us our layout component. So then inside of request index, I'm going to replace that h3 with our layout. And you know what? Let's actually put the h3 in there. Why not? So we'll leave the h3 in. We'll say open, how about not even open, we'll just say requests, like so. Okay, so now if we go back over, okay, that's looking good. Let's now import our button tag and our routes helper and place a link in here to get our user over to that new route that we still need to create. So at the top of this file, let's import our button from semantic UI React, and then we'll also import the link helper from up to routes. And notice again, this is 3 double dots right here. So now right underneath our h3, we can place a link tag that contains an anchor and our button. And so this is going to be the button that a user clicks to go to the page to create a brand new request. So we'll do a link tag. We'll put our anchor inside there. And then inside there, we'll do our button. As before, we'll give the button a prop of primary. And we'll give it the text add request. And then we also need to specify the route on the link tag right here. Let's go look at that chart that tells us all the different URLs that we're going to have in our application really quick. All right, so back over at our diagram, right around here. Okay, so to create a new request, the user should be going to a route of campaigns, the address, requests, /new. Now we don't yet have our actual address available inside of this component, right? We've definitely discussed how we could get access to it inside of the getInitialProps function, but we haven't defined that function inside of here just yet. So let's define that function, get our address out of the URL, and then pass it into our component as props. So at the top, we'll say static async getInitialProps. We'll receive that initial props object, We're going to pull the address out of it. So we'll say const, and we'll do a little bit of destructuring this time, which I don't think we did previously. So we'll get our address from props.query, and then we can return an object with address. And then of course, since the key and value here are the same, we can shorten this up with a little bit of ES 2015 syntax to be simply address. So now for our link tag right here, we can use an ES6 template string again. So we got a backtick right here. This will take us to campaigns, this.props.address /requests/new, like so. Now, of course, before we actually test this out, we have to create that new route and make a new component, just like we did for this request index component as well. So let's make the new component first. Inside of my pages directory, I'm going to make a new file called new.js. So this will show the new form that is related to requests. Inside of here, we'll put down some more familiar React boilerplate. So import React and component from React. We'll do a class of request new. That'll extend our base class of component. We'll add in our render method and return again in H3 that says create a request. And then at the bottom, we'll export default request new. All right, very last thing, let's add in a route for this one as well. So here's my root routes.js file. Before we add on this new route, I want to remind you that the order in which we add routes here is the order in which they will be parsed. So it doesn't really matter in this case whether or not we add the next route above or below the current one. Remember that previously we kind of ran into an issue, right, where we were trying to show the campaign/new component or route right here, and that was accidentally getting picked up by this rule. So all I mean to say is that with this new route that we're adding in, we don't have to worry about that because the end of this new route is going to end in /new. So there won't be any kind of collisions or anything. I'm going to make sure I clean up the semicolon at the end of the line above it, and then I'll add in one more rule. So this will be campaigns, address, requests, new. And whenever someone goes here, we want to take them to the component at campaigns, requests, new, like so. All right, I think we're ready for a test. So we'll go back over to the browser. I'm going to make sure I refresh this page. And we get a little 404 here. I might have made a little typo. Let's see what our error message is. Okay, page does not exist. So that's an interesting one. Let's go back over to our routes file. You know what? Everything over here looks fine to me. Yeah, it looks fine. Let's try a refresh again. Huh. Okay, well, let's pause right here. We'll come back to the next video and we'll figure out exactly what just went wrong.